Mine. Start over. See, it's never going to work.
My name is Danielle Trollinger. I am, how old am I? 30 years old.
You better start again.
No, I'm not going to start. Today is, what's today?
We got to start over.
It won't let you. It's recording everything.
Okay.
Today is December 29th, 2017, and I'm speaking with my grandma, Harriet Bierling, who is, my grandma. I need to stop reading this. We are recording this interview in Aurora, Colorado. Okay, Grandma. So can you tell me a little bit about your childhood? What were you like as a child?
I was the youngest of two daughters. My sister was 10 years older than I was. Her name was Marilyn, and my maiden name was Harriet Folkerts, and we were 10 years apart. And we lived in South Denver area for quite a few years. It was kind of a Dutch community, and we could walk to church from there. And also, I walked to school from there, and nobody worried about me. It was blocks and blocks, and in those days, you just walked to school. And so I remember those earlier days going to elementary school, Denver Christian Elementary School. And yeah, so that was a fun remembrance of mine. My parents were wonderful. I was kind of the baby of the family, so.
Did they spoil you?
Yeah, they spoiled me. It was kind of funny because they had tried to have more children since we were 10 years apart. So finally, my mom got pregnant, and they were thinking that they were going to have a boy. And my mom said to my dad when I was born, "Oh, I'm so sorry that we didn't have a boy." And he said, "That's okay. Let's just name her Harriet," because my dad's name was Harry. So that's how I got my name Harriet, after my dad.
I didn't know that.
Uh-huh.
Oh, that's wonderful. I love that. Tell me about then your parents. Like, what was your life like growing up with them? Like, what was your relationship with great grandpa and with great grandma?
Well, it was always a good relationship. My dad was only had an 8th grade education, as well as my mom, but my dad was an entrepreneur. He started the coal business when there was no furnaces, and he also started the ice business when there was no refrigerators. So he did very, very well in that. He developed a whole fleet of trucks and did very well. So as far as we had a fairly good financially life that way in those days anyway.
Yeah. But then that got destroyed by...
Yeah, and that was a very sad thing. It was in the 60s that flood came. Well, then after the refrigerators came in and the furnaces, then he started firewood business. Landscaping in the summer and firewood business
in the
winter. Winter, yeah. But in the summer, big flood came down and just wiped out his whole business, his scales, his office shop. All the wood went down the Platte River. So that was a hard time for my dad. And then soon after that, he went into the furnace cleaning business for a short period of time, but then he retired. And they went down to Arizona, Phoenix, Arizona, a lot, and enjoyed the retirement life down there.
Did they have a place down there? Or
they just stayed in a motel, the Pyramid Motel. And then we got to go, when we were older, and the kids got to go down and visit them. But they did that for years.
Did they travel a lot together? Or?
Yeah, they did. They were able to. They went to Florida and for quite a while, for some time. And then I'd always stay with my grandma Swart.
What was she like?
She was wonderful. That's where I learned to love tea so much, because she'd have tea every day.
Huh.
And then we'd stand, they had the old-fashioned registers, and then just to get warm, we'd stand by the heating registers and drink a cup of tea together.
Do you remember what kind of tea?
That was fun. Just regular tea. They didn't have the flavors
fancy,
in those days.
Fancy kind.
And then also they had Dutch rusk and cheese. And so
what's
that
Dutch
was
rusk?
That's just like a cracker, only it's round. And you can get it in the stores today. You used to only get it in Holland, but they have it in the stores. And then she'd give me Dutch rusk and cheese. And that was a big thing.
And did she come over from Holland to here? Was she first generation?
As a baby. She came, her name was Maggie Swart. Junkman first. Maggie Junkman. She married my grandpa Nicholas, and it was Nicholas Swart. And he came over also as a younger child.
What was he like?
I was only about 3 or 4 years old when he passed away, so I don't have a lot of memory of him, but he was a very hard worker. I think he was a brass polisher, and my grandma would say he used to polish the brass in the Capitol downtown Denver. So I thought that was a kind of a
He
neat
used to
polished brass.
polish the brass of the Capitol, like on the top?
Wherever she said I don't know about the
Or
top, but
oh,
inside.
but inside.
Maybe.
Oh, wow.
So
That's
that was
amazing.
interesting.
Yeah, that's incredible.
And then that was my grandpa and grandma Swart.
Huh. And then what about great grandpa and grandpa
Folkerts?
Folkerts, your grandparents
Yeah,
on your dad's side?
They came. That was an interesting story. They both. One of them lived in Groningen, Holland. The other one lived in Friesland, Holland, and they came over as adults. And my grandpa came, I think, in his 20s because he had TB.
Yeah.
And in America, it was a lot drier in New Mexico. That's where they had a Dutch settlement. So he came, and then he was engaged to my grandma before he came. So she was committed to come out too. So she came out as a young adult, and then they got married. But she used to tell me she'd stand and look towards Holland and just cry and cry. Because she was so lonesome for Holland.
So homesick.
But that marriage produced 15 children.
15?
15.
Which one was great grandpa?
Well, there was a few older one that passed away. And then there was a boy named, I can't think of his name, but he passed away at 8 years old. So that was a very hard thing for my grandma. That was before my dad.
Yeah.
Then my dad, after those 4, 2 of them were maybe miscarriages and 2 of them were older. So but after my dad, who was the oldest, Harry, they had 12, including my dad. So they had 12.
Oh my gosh.
And it was kind of unusual because it was every other, like girl, boy,
boy
through the whole thing.
That's hilarious. Do you remember any of them, like aunts and uncles?
Oh yeah, very much so. Then they finally moved from there to in the Denver area, and they started a hardware store.
That's incredible.
So and that was just interesting.
And was that kind of a family business for a while until?
Yeah, and then the boys just started
their own.
But in those days, the kids had to give most of their money to the parents.
Wow.
So my dad, that was just he was used to that.
Yeah.
So they gave a lot of money to the parents just to keep 12 kids. Survived, I think.
That's incredible.
I know.
Well, it sounds like his parents and then great-grandpa Folkerts were entrepreneurs in their own way.
Yeah.
For that time period.
Exactly.
That's amazing.
I know.
And then what brought great-grandma, like your mom, Tressa, what brought her to Colorado? Was she always here?
They lived in Dutton, Michigan. That's where my grandma married. And then my grandma got TB. See, TB was really rampant then. They didn't have the shots.
Yeah.
And so she came out to Colorado when my mom was about later teens. She came out to Colorado and went to Bethesda Hospital.
Oh.
And that's where, it is no more in Denver, but that's where the TB people would try to get better, to heal.
Why?
Well, they just it was drier here again
so
in
that
Michigan.
Helps.
And it was a whole hot sanitarium, they called it, for TB people. People. So my mom's oldest sister came out with her.
Okay.
With my grandma, but my mom stayed back with, there were 6 children, so she stayed back with the rest of them.
Oh my gosh.
And she kind of ran the household.
Wow. Did she ever talk about that?
Yeah, she said she'd make a cake on Sundays, and then all the neighbors and everybody would come on Sundays. But she said my mom was pretty, good at housekeeping.
Yeah.
So she kind of liked that too.
I remember that about her, even like when she had her assisted living place, how nice she kept it.
Oh, yeah. So she liked that. And it's interesting with my mom, before she came out here, she had a boyfriend, and his name was Gerard. And they were engaged. He gave her a cedar chest. That's what they did in those days.
A cedar chest?
A cedar chest. Put all your towels for when you got married and all your different things that preserved them. Because cedar preserves.
Oh, that's why.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so they dated, and they were engaged, and then all of a sudden my mom kind of had a check about it because he had kind of his own Bible. He thought that he was writing kind of his own version of the Bible.
Oh.
And that bothered my mom a lot. So she broke it up. Yeah. She showed me pictures of him. He had he was very handsome, wavy hair.
But maybe a little kooky.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there.
That's hilarious.
So then she came out finally, then the whole family came out and lived in, and then she met my dad at First Christian Reformed Church.
That's where they met. Was that church?
That's where they met.
Oh.
And they went on a date. They went on a church picnic, and my dad had another girl, but he took my mom home. So we never quite understood what all happened there, but that's where it started.
That's hilarious. Well, I'm glad he took her home.
And then they dated, and their dating was kind of different too, because my mom was a maid in very fancy houses in
Yeah.
Denver. And then so all week long she lived in the house.
Wow.
So then it was by Cheeseman Park, and then he would go over there, and then they would sit on a little bench in Cheeseman Park. She said, and court. That's
In
how they
court.
That's how
Oh,
they
I
call the
love that.
dating, and courted.
Oh, I love that.
Isn't
On
that
a
cute?
bench.
On a bench.
That's really
and then
sweet.
they got married later, in the later 20s,
Hmm.
and then had my sister, and then 10 years later.
Hmm. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's incredible. And then what was the age difference between you and Aunt Myrna then?
10 years.
10 years. Was that weird growing up with such an age difference?
Because I really, by the time she went off to college, I was still in junior high.
Yeah.
So I was often wished we were closer in age.
Yeah.
But then she met her husband, Bob DeBoer, at Calvin College. And then they went to Texas. He was in the service after college. So then I got to go down there and spend some time with them.
Oh, that's
And
kind of
then,
fun.
he went off to the Korean War. He was worked in the lab. So then she lived home all that time for about a year and a half. So that was neat for me then.
Yeah.
You know, we
it was
got-
kind of a special
Yeah,
dynamic
yeah,
and relationship.
Yeah.
What was your childhood home like? Did you guys always live in the same house?
I was born in South Denver also on South Emerson Street, but then that was when I was young. And then I moved to 1810 South Ogden. That's right in the middle of South Denver too. So we lived there quite a while.
Mm.
Then my dad had a beautiful, in our day, a beautiful house built on South Cook, 2045 South Cook. And then I lived there. And then the flood came, and that the business was, kind of wiped out. So then we sold that house, moved to South Pennsylvania, to an older bungalow house. And then my dad had his business right next door called the Supreme Coal and Ice. So we were right next door to that. Then after that, we moved to South Gilpin by DU there, and that's where the house I got married from there. Then by DU area there. Yeah.
Oh.
So we moved somewhat.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What about when you became a mom for the first time? Do you remember what went through your mind? Or when you first saw my mom, what went through your mind?
Okay, she was my second child. And yeah, like I guess every mom hopes for a girl. And just, I had Kurt first. Her, 2 years later, Cindy was born. And I just couldn't believe she had, because I was very blonde, and I just couldn't believe she came and she had all this dark hair. And she only weighed 5 pounds, 13 ounces.
Oh, that's so small.
She was a little one.
Yeah.
But I got to take her home and, just start being a mom, busy mom.
What was she like as a kid?
Your mom? It was your mom, right?
Yeah, my mom.
She was a petite little girl, so I had more fun with her, dressing her all up in pink.
That sounds familiar.
And,
She did that with
like
me.
she did you, like she did you, and but as she grew older, and then she kind of was not tough and tumble, but she didn't really like the frilly clothes that much anymore, So she liked her older brother Kurt, and they hung out in the yard and played and did sports things together and just had fun. But she was a little stinker too. She had a little stubborn streak, and her dad was very strict and made her eat vegetables. She hated peas, hated them. So she'd keep them all in her cheeks. She had huge cheeks, and then she'd go spit them out somewhere.
She just refused to eat them.
And then he would put her in her bedroom to ground her for a little while, and then she just kept sticking her foot out of the door, like, I dare you.
To be a little obstinate.
Very much.
Oh, man, I love that. To me, that's like gold right there. Can you tell me about something you're passionate about? Like, aside from your kids, what are you? Aside from your kids and grandkids, because I know you're so passionate about all of us.
Yeah, totally. My family, I would say, number one is
Your passion.
My passion. And God is really, I have to say this too, my cup runneth over with my grandkids and my children. We have wonderful times together. I'm very close to all my grandkids, and and my kids, and I think God has really, from some of my hard times in my life, given me such a blessing through it all, that I've had close relationships,
Yeah.
with my kids. Passion, I love people. I guess
Yeah, you do.
they were teasing me the other day that I'm social off the charts. So I don't know. I don't know what that meant. I says, is that good or bad? I don't know. But I love community. And right now I'm 78 years old and I'm still working full time as an activity director at an independent living center.
Yeah.
And I've always loved older people.
Yeah.
As a young girl, Danielle, I would take a streetcar from our house and I would go down to Porter's Hospital.
Took a streetcar down to Porter's? Okay.
And just roamed in the hallway, found an older person's room and went and talked to him.
And you weren't officially volunteering there? You weren't like a candy striper or anything?
No. But interesting enough, I became when I got older in high school, I worked there.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh,
and
my
I was a
gosh.
tray girl, and I don't know if you know what that means, but you'd go bring the trays to the room.
A tray girl.
Tray girl.
Like trays of food or medicine?
Trays
or
of food.
Trays
and
of
then
food.
there's snacks in the afternoon if they needed a malt or whatever. Then
You would
and
get
then,
it for them.
And then I ended up working in the cafeteria as preparing food and also doing the cash register, which Lord knows how I did that because I'm not good at figures and numbers, but I made it through. But yeah, that's my first job, and then I saved enough money all on my own to buy a 1956 Chevy, which is a classic today, a black and white 1956 Chevy, which I so wish I would have kept.
You saved up enough money to get that
it was
for yourself.
$800.
Wow.
In those days, that was kind of big.
It's really
But
big.
I saved that all my own money from working at Porter's then.
That's amazing. But then before working there, what do you think inspired you to just visit on your own?
I don't know why I loved older people. It's funny, I'm jumping a little ahead, but then when I had my own children, I took them to do the same thing, and we'd go to nursing homes. I had a friend that played the piano, and we made cookies, and then the kids and I would try to sing. And so they have memories of that also.
Yeah.
But I don't know, I still do. I just think
love it.
their wisdom. And, a lot of people, they're neglected with a lot of kids don't even pay much attention.
Yeah, so they're in some ways pretty vulnerable too, physically and also, emotionally needing of relationships, like we all are.
Yeah, they want to tell their story.
Yeah.
So I thought this year my goal is I sometimes get so busy doing, just setting up activities and doing activities and all that I thought this year I've done it some, but I'm going to try to go around and just spend 15, 20, half an hour and hear their stories from the beginning, like
That
you're doing
would be
with
beautiful.
me. Yeah, because they all have had careers that here I see them as older people, but they've all had careers
And lives and
husbands,
experiences
yeah,
and
travel.
yeah.
So that's kind of my goal for this year.
I remember when I visited you this year and visited where you work, that they were all telling stories that there's just so much rich wisdom that they have to offer people if you just sit and listen.
If you just listen, but a lot of young people don't want to even be bothered with them.
Yeah, or don't even think about it.
Or their own kids are busy in their world too.
Yeah, living their lives.
Yeah.
It's so worth it though to hear their stories.
It's so worth it. And I like to walk, and I guess, and I love nature. Probably that's another passion of mine is nature. Flowers and trees, and that's from my dad. He
loved the outdoors?
Love the outdoors and the birds, and so I can get lost in that too. Just go for a walk and.
Do you like to garden like he did?
I do. I don't
Get
have
your
a lot
hands
of room,
dirty
but
and
yeah, he always said, "Don't wear gloves. Put them in the dirt."
Yeah, I love that about him. I love that. I always think of that every time I try to plant something.
I know. He didn't like gloves.
Yeah.
He said, "Oh, that was for sissies."
It's good to get a little dirt underneath the nails. How about your favorite Bible verse, Grandma? Because I know you're also passionate about having faith in something bigger than yourself and God that's directed you your whole life. So.
I guess I should say that's probably my first passion is God. I've been brought up in it, so that's all I know. That's all who I am actually. Yeah. And so my folks, we were just talking last night that we went to church twice a Sunday. Never questioned it. The preachers always weren't that outstanding, but it was our life. It was just our total life to go to church, and then we'd have Sunday school and catechism and a huge part of our social life too with the people.
Community, yeah.
Yeah, community. My mom would have coffee on Sunday and invite always somebody over from church.
Oh, that's wonderful. They lived right by the church you went
did.
to, right?
We did.
Was it First Church?
First Christian Reformed.
Yep.
And then we moved, to that house that my dad built, and then we went to Third Christian Reformed Church out there.
But for a while, your house backed up to the church parking lot, didn't it?
Oh, yeah, and that was later on in
Oh,
my
okay.
parents' life. It backed right up to Third Church.
Yeah. Oh, that was their church. Okay.
Yeah.
Would she invite people over then too?
Oh, yeah.
Always.
My mom would. She was very good with that.
And she would serve coffee, not tea?
Coffee.
Oh, okay. Coffee and like
tea
little
in the
snacks.
afternoon.
Oh.
We'd always have tea in the afternoon. Her and
Yeah.
I sometimes.
Yeah.
But what were you asking me about?
Your
church,
favorite,
my favorite verse.
And your favorite verse, yeah.
My favorite verse is 2 Corinthians 12:9. My grace is sufficient for you. And I found that to be totally true through a lot of different struggles in my life, that God's grace got me through.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that got me through is God's grace.
Yeah.
And it was sufficient.
The gift of God's presence and God's grace.
I look back and think, oh my goodness, how did I make it with 3 kids and
being a single mom for a while.
Being a single mom for a while. And I look back and think, at the time, sometimes you wonder, but then looking back, you say, it had to be God's grace.
Yeah, something bigger than you supporting you.
And also my parents, they were totally supportive of me and my children. So their house was like a safe haven. When things got kind of hard at our house, they'd go over there. When they'd take them on trips, they'd take them to Arizona.
Really loved them.
My dad would take the kids fishing, and so that was kind of another whole gift of grace.
Yeah.
That I had my supportive parents right there.
Yeah, that's huge.
Huge.
What do you think one of the lessons you've been through so much? I mean, you've been through divorces, you're a single mom, you've also met Grandpa and Grandpa Bill and had this wonderful marriage and life, and you've raised wonderful kids, and you and Grandpa Bill have been like such an integral part of my life. Like, I don't remember when you guys got married. Was it when I was 10?
1993.
1993. And you guys, so he's basically been in my life for most of it. And I just remember both of you supporting and loving me. And you've been through so much, though, like through all of that, you've lived through so much. And what is one of the lessons that you've learned through your children, through your grandchildren, through all of your experiences, your heartbreaks, your successes, your victories, your passions, your faith, like your parents, like throughout all of your living and all of your relationships and experiences? What do you think some of the lessons that you've learned are? Life lessons.
Life lessons. Well, I always had the Lord there, but that doesn't mean that times are always easy. I think just to keep on keeping on. And oftentimes I'd feel like just taking the kids and moving somewheres, or kind of running away just to another place. And I thought, no, I can't do that. What would that do to my children? I gotta stay stable. And I think my parents were very stable, and maybe that
that stability
came through.
helped.
That stability, you just don't do what you feel like doing. And I always felt like I had a really good work ethic, so I knew I had to work. And I did, and did what I had to do to just kind of keep the family going, But I just think just to keep stable and don't give up, and thinking, someday God will work it out for good, which he totally, my life now is totally, but that doesn't always happen with people either.
Yeah.
But
good can come from difficulty.
Come of it, and I think my kids would say, all 3 kids are more or less they are in counseling situations.
You mean for their profession?
For their profession. And I really think out of the hurt that we went through, they have become stronger. And now they can help other people because they see what has happened.
Yeah, healers.
In our lives, So, yeah, and be surrounded by the church people. Not always necessarily that. They didn't always know what to do with somebody divorced.
Yeah,
that was
you weren't necessarily always welcomed or treated well by people who were Christian.
They just didn't know what to do with you. And they didn't treat me badly, but they just didn't know how to engage what to do. They just kind of left it alone, didn't talk about it.
Yeah.
But I still had my mom and dad with that strong
faith.
family and their
and
faith.
Family.
So I think that's looking back, that's how.
And surround yourself with people who are in a church community who are healthy and good, and who can support you and love you as you are.
Yeah, and that was a good thing, because it's easy to get bitter. From some of my best friends didn't know what to do, and they kind of backed away. And then I remember praying, Lord, just send me people that you want in my life. And that really helped. That dissolved the bitterness.
Yeah.
And people came around me that really wanted to.
Yeah. That were really there for you. And isn't something that great grandpa, your dad, always said, didn't he say, what was that again?
Be pleasant to all, but there's a few people in life that you can be very close to.
Yeah. Be pleasant to all, but be picky about your
Right.
close friends.
Right. Mm-hmm. I always remember that.
I do too.
Yeah.
I like that advice.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm trying to think. Oh, tell me a favorite memory that you have of me.
Oh, Danielle, I felt kind of like with you when I had your mom. You lived in Prairie View.
I think Sun Prairie,
Sun
Wisconsin.
Prairie, Sun Prairie, Wisconsin. So that was hard because your family
We were far away.
was
Yeah.
far away.
But my dad always flew you out, right?
But he did, and so that was another blessing. Maybe every third, fourth month, I got to go out there.
Yeah.
Stayed for a while, and that was interesting because when you were born, then your mom was very, very sick, so that was a hard time for your mom. But then you were born, and then I came out there very, very soon, and I could still see it. I walked up this few steps, and you were on the couch, and you were laying towards the couch, so I couldn't see your face, but you had all this really dark, I mean, a whole mop of black hair, and a little tiny person on the couch, and so that was wonderful. And then you were just barely a few days old, I think, and Mom and I got you all dressed up, your mom did, and off we went to coffee already.
No wonder I like coffee.
Dragging you around.
Going out for coffee.
We did. Every day we went out somewhere, to the mall or to coffee or something.
How many coffee shops and coffee dates do you think you and I have gone on since then?
Oh, and then you and I, and that's been a
So
blessing.
many, yeah.
We've talked about every situation in life, every boyfriend you had, every scenario we processed.
Yeah.
It was just part of our lives,
Yeah.
part of you and our lives a lot more than
Yeah.
anything.
I know.
Yeah.
We've talked about family struggles. We've talked about family victories, love, faith,
I
God,
know. But
romance.
I gotta talk to Danielle about this.
Yeah, we've shared our stories over coffee a lot.
So many wonderful times, Danielle. So many. And then you had, when you had jaundice as
Jaundice,
a baby.
yeah.
So they put you in this little incubator, like in the house, and so your dad says, well, somebody has to watch you during the night because you can't take your little blindfolds off your eyes.
Oh yeah, because it'll hurt your eyes.
Right. So I would sit up quite a few times and just sit by you, make sure that you don't. And then your dad and our story is you had a little stubborn streak too, and then it'd take two of us to change your diaper.
I know they won't let me live that down.
Right. And your legs were so strong. So
I know there's too much life to live. I didn't want to waste it getting my diaper changed.
And that was then, and then years down the road, I'd keep coming back, and then we'd go bicycling. You were just learning how to ride a bike there. We'd run through the cornfields.
Oh yeah, those are good memories.
I did crafts together, and such fun. And I thank your parents for always making it, because I couldn't afford to go, so I didn't feel I was totally lost from you guys because I got to see you quite often.
Yeah,
actually.
you did.
You know.
Oh, we got my birthplace wrong. It was Minnesota.
Friedley.
Yeah, Fridley, Minnesota.
That's
and then when you came and
right.
visited us in Sun Prairie, Wisconsin with the bike and the cornfields.
But were you living in Sun Prairie, though, when you were born and
No.
went to the hospital in Friedley? That's what I thought.
No, because I was born in Fridley, Minnesota. That's my birthplace, yeah.
But did they live in Friedley?
They did for like a year, I think, barely.
Oh, okay.
And then we
They
moved
moved.
around so much, and Wisconsin was one of the places that we moved to, and
Sun
that's one of the
Prairie.
places you'd come and
That's
visit.
where I do. would
I
come.
remember, because I remember those memories of you and me on the bike and the
Do ya?
cornfields very distinctly. Yeah,
So fun there.
and that was right before we moved back to Colorado.
Right.
And that's right before you married Grandpa Bill.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is? Well, are you proud of me, Grandma?
Oh, am I proud of you? I am busting my buttons, and I'm be crying in a minute, but very proud. You've developed into such a beautiful Christian young lady, and with a beautiful, sparkly. Grandpa and I always say you just sparkle. Your eyes just sparkle, and you have a lot of depth, and so we can talk about anything, which you can't always do that with everybody. And you're on your way to your doctorate in Portland, and I got to come with your mother and spend some time there, which was really, really fun. And I pray for you all the time, and I don't know what God has for you, but I think it's going to be amazing. And you've done amazing things. Grandpa and I came and watched you teach at Regis, and all you had to do was raise your eyebrows at the kids, and the kids would listen.
I know.
Awesome teacher. And
I love them so much.
Way back when, we came way out here to watch you play Annie.
Oh, yeah.
Play Annie.
You've been there through everything.
Yeah.
All my little performances, whether that's in the classroom or
We were.
on a stage or
Debate. We came out
speech
and
and
watched
debate.
you
Yeah.
on speech
My
and
choir
debate.
concerts.
So I feel like I've totally been involved in your life, which a lot of people can't say that with their grandkids. They live far away,
And even though you guys lived far away, I almost thought you guys were here full time because you came to everything.
we did. We came to a lot
You
of
must have been
things.
flying a lot.
You were my first granddaughter, so that was just such a novelty to have a granddaughter, and it's been very a special relationship that we've had always together.
Yeah.
And you sang beautifully. I remember
Yes.
you sang at my mom's funeral, Amazing Grace,
Mm.
and that meant a lot also to us. So yeah, we've had good times over pizzas and over whatever coffee shops in Portland. We went to every one of them down there.
I know we did.
So it's just been a good ride with you, honey, and I love you very much.
I love you too. How would you like to be remembered, Grandma?
Oh, I just want to be remembered for my faith,
Mm.
that I love the Lord. But, my walk hasn't always been perfect like everybody could say maybe, but my heart has been, I feel, right with Him, and I just pray that you'll keep Him first in your life, no matter what happens, because it's not going to always be easy. It just isn't. And you've been through some hard times yourself already as a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
And but your faith has really carried you all, really. You've always had a very strong faith as a young girl, and so that's what I hope that you'll just know that God loves you and has a plan for your lives, and I love you, and if I'm not here, I'll love you from heaven.
I love you so much, Grandma. Last thing, what would you want to say to like your future great grandchildren, to your grandkids now, to your children? What's one thing you would want them to know?
Well, I think just like I said before, you have to fill that space that's void in your life with the Lord. Because if you don't, you're always going to have a longing for something. And it's never going to be fulfilled with money or careers or a spouse or a person. It won't be. So if you fill it with God, your life, no matter where it will be, maybe not, you'll have hard times, but you'll have that peace inside of your heart.
You'll have meaning.
You'll have meaning to life. Always till the end. And we can all be together in heaven in a perfect place. And that'll be wonderful when we all I always think I'm so thankful that I have this life here, because they say in heaven it'll still be magnified better. So I thought, well, Lord, how can it get any better than this?
Yeah, you love life so much.
I do.
Can you
love
imagine?
Every inch of life. I can say that. I can't hardly imagine what it's going to be like.
You do love every inch of life.
I do.
More than, I think, Grandma, you mean so much to me. I mean, you've been there for me through thick and thin. We've been through so much together, the hard times, the good times, and you have been like one of my best friends.
I know, we've been best friends, really.
Yeah.
And that's kind of funny. They think I'm older and you're younger, but
age is relative.
We've just had such a good rapport together for so long.
Yeah, you've always been so incredibly there. So thank you so much for being such a presence in my life, someone of love who has taught me to love life, has taught me to love well, love others well, and love myself well, and love God well. So thank you so much for teaching me to live well.
Well, you're doing a good job, honey. Keep going. Keep going with it.
I love you, Grandma.
I love you, honey.